KILR KILR Games.
Hello gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the KILR Gamer and welcome to the World Tour featuring Sublogic Flight Simulator 2 for the Commodore Amiga. We got a special video going on today, so let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing. So this is our handy duty map from the Sublogic Scenery Disc number 9, and we are going from Chicago O'Hare and flying across Lake Michigan to Benton Harbor. But before we do that, I thought it might be interesting, and I thought you might actually like to take a look at this, because Scenery Disc number 9 is a little bit more detailed than the default scenery. But I thought you might appreciate another touch and go at Merrill C. Meigs. But this time, instead of landing and touching on runway 18, we'll do it on runway 36, which is the default runway that you start off at. Well, at least not on the Amiga, but you know, the other ones. And that will give you an idea of what Meigs looks like on Scenery Disc number 9. And then we'll continue our way to Benton Harbor. So we're going to take Chicago O'Hare. We're going to go down here to Chicago Midway, and then we'll make a UE here. We'll touch down at Merrill C. Meigs, and then lift off again, going north, and then heading over to Benton Harbor. We'll catch the, what is that? The 090 radial. And let's see, if we start turning off that way, and if we tune into Northbrook, what was it, 10, 11, no, maybe not. Yeah, I don't, no, that's right, this is going to be too far away, we're not going to be able to tune into it. Yeah, I think what I did on the Commodore 64 is I tuned in 090 on Chicago O'Hare, and we left that way, and then also tuned in 090 on Benton Harbor. And somewhere in here we met in the middle and were able to continue the way to Benton Harbor. So I think that's what it was that I did. And it is dawn. The sun is starting to come up. I would have done this on the Commodore 64, however, Chicago O'Hare had some problems with Scenery Disc number 9, and it has to do with the taxiways, because on the Commodore 64 it's dotted, which, you know, is what you would normally see. You would see, you know, little blue lights. But with what they did, there happened to be more of them, and it was causing the Commodore 64, even an emulated Commodore 64, to really choke on it. It was having problems, like very, very bad lag. Like you would make a move, or you know, some type of command, and it would, like 10-15 seconds later, it would actually do it. So I mean, it was bad. So I started it right at daytime. Oh, and we are now we're now in the spring, so it'll be, I mean, obviously if it's daytime it's going to be, or dawn, it's going to be turning daytime soon. So yeah, we started it when it was daytime, and then all the blue dots turned into white lines. and it wasn't too bad taking off. But here, we don't have that problem. So we're going to go ahead and get things started. And we'll take off on the same runway that the Commodore 64 did, which was runway 14. It's the one that we wanted to do an ILS on, which completely failed because for some reason it didn't work. The ILS was all messed up. Been debating on whether I should be doing a video on the Atari ST version. I mean, it's going to look the same. The sounds aren't the same. There's a taxiway up here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I just crossed over the grass. Or what we think is grass. Looking at the end of the runway here, I think. Nope, maybe not. Yeah, not yet. Looks like we got a little bit to go. Not too worried about setting our nav radios at the moment. We can do that while we're up in the air. Yeah, I know, that's probably not what you're supposed to do as a pilot, but you know. I think we'll be fine. to the end of it. Turn right here. And time to take off. It is now daytime. So you can see Chicago there in the distance. The scenery is definitely going to look better here. It's like the scenery looked pretty decent on the default area, which was Oakland, when you start on this. But, I'm going to keep the landing gear down on this one. And I was like, no, I want to fly from Meigs. And when I loaded that up with the default, I was like very disappointed. What is this? It didn't look very good. Well, to me. Of course, you know what it would look like. It was the first episode of this world tour. There goes Chicago O'Hare with its tower, control tower. It's one of the little enhancements they did. Everything else is still white lined. I'm going to assume that maybe they had this filled in to start off with, and it really lagged pretty badly. So they only filled out 2 of the runways and kept everything else outlined. See the whole roadway system. Got a river coming up here. I'm not sure which river. Chicago Midway should be up here. level off around 2,500. That's a lot of stuff to draw. Just got me wondering how JFK International is going to turn out at New York. Oh, there's Midway right in front of us. Okay, we can go ahead and set our radios here. Chicago O'Hare was 113.9, which we have set already. Set that to 90. It's not Benton Harbor, it's the Voice KILR is what it is. So go ahead and move this to 116.6. Move that to 90. Okay, our nav radios are set. And we're still climbing. I don't want to keep climbing here. So like I said, you know, just get our nav radio set up while we're in the air. We've got plenty of time to do it. We'll come around Midway on the west side of it. We gotta find out what that river is. What is that river? I don't think that's the river. I have no idea. It's north of it. That might be a river. There is something. The Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal. That's what that is. And just south of that is Interstate 55. And then this here looks like Loop 294. And I was going to say this one here is Interstate 90. Probably. That's Meigs right there. Let's go and do a flyby over Midway so that way you can see what that looks like on scenery disc number 9. See, another good reason for flying south around and making a U-turn after Midway gives you a chance to see what this airport looks like as well. And one thing we can see right off the bat is the runways are filled in. See Meigs over there to the left, right over here. Right there, yeah. Now we can't see anything from here. So we can see that some of the taxiways and parking areas are actually filled in. But then there are other areas, and I noticed this on the Commodore 64 also, that just have lines, like right here. So it's like it's a drawn out line. It's a squiggly line there. As far as the taxiways are concerned. And did you notice that there is only, I forget which runway this one is, but I know that there's a center one. There's like a left, a right, and a center. And this doesn't have it. I don't know if the center runway was added later. Oh, maybe, actually I think it's the one that we're sitting over right now. Yeah, because that's the terminal area. That's right, because the center one sticks out further. So yeah, this other runway is not here. I don't know if it was like that in the 80s or not. Okay, we're going to start our turn here. Bring down one thing of flaps here and start slowing down. We'll make a descent and kind of curve our way around. Line up with Meigs. Let's see that road right there. We could actually follow that around Lake Michigan if we wanted to. We're not going to. Because it's more fun to fly over. Whoops, that's a little too close to Meigs. Let's fly down here. I think we might be able to start turning after we pass that right there. We'll get lower in altitude. Obviously, but I mean, like right now I want to be lower than what we are. Let's go ahead and start making our turn here. Whoops. Trying to stop our bank, and I was bringing the throttle down instead. Not quite what we wanted to do. Okay, let's try turning some more here. Start using our rudder here to line up. just a little bit off when it comes to lining up. It shouldn't take too much to get ourselves corrected. Meigs is going to come up fast. Beginning to see the runway a little bit. There's a little bit of a green spot that was separating the taxiway from the runway. I could see it. Adjusting our altimeter just in case. Yeah, so Chicago already looks better, and much better than what was done on the Commodore 64. Those buildings look like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. They're all leaning over. It didn't look very good. Okay, here we go. Landing gears down. A little high. So here we go. We got a good look at Meigs, runway 36. Oh, nice and easy. Nice and easy. Come on. Power up. And we're off. Landing gear up. And we'll get our flaps up. Just want to give us some altitude here before I do that. There goes Meigs. We won't be seeing Meigs for a very long time. This is the last time we'll see Chicago. Until the very, very end of the tour, when I'm like 90 years old. Pretty cool, huh? Another nice little touch and go there. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty steep descent, but, you know, it's hard on these old simulators to determine a good rate of descent because of how big the pixels are and everything. So we just try to do the best that we can. But we didn't crash, and I think that's what matters. I think on this flight I'm going to go ahead and set the autopilot. So we'll go here to nav, go to autopilot, and we'll check 4,000 here. I forgot I have to hit the enter key. There we go. I'm like, oh no, it froze! Okay, the needle for OBI number 2 is starting to move. One thing I didn't like about autopilot on the Amiga is it does this. And you can see what it's doing. But it was the first flight simulator that had autopilot on it. So with that in mind, you know, they had room to improve from there. Chicago is beginning to turn into a distant memory. All that's left is the navigational beacon that we're tuned into. Okay, I wondered. Sometimes you have to tune off of a nav radio and tune back on in order for it to activate, which is what I did there, and now we've got our distance at 64 miles. Well, that's to the VOR. I would say it's probably 10 miles less than that, so about 54 miles to go to the airport. There is our radio right there. So now that we have that, we don't need this one anymore. Go ahead and give us a little bit of a left turn. We can meet that 90 radio. Now something else that it can tune into is another VOR. That way we can cross-check our position and see just how far away we really are. And I can go ahead and show you that. Okay, so South Bend right here. That sounds getting kind of weird because I'm doing this. If we tune in the 330 radio there, then once we cross it, we'll know, okay, we don't have very much further to go. So that's my thought on that. Let's go and tune that in. South Bend is 115.4. Okay. 330. This is why I didn't worry about setting the radios when we're on the ground, because we're going to be doing a lot of changes as it is. Just a gray line now for Chicago. That's it. That's the southernmost part of Lake Michigan over there. know there's not much to look at, but what do you think so far? Flying over one of the Great Lakes. You got to use your imagination a little bit, but no, it's fun, you know. It's fun to see what they were able to do with the graphics at the time. Well, we got some time. How about we go through our Amiga Flight Simulator 2 manual. Right here. Which has got a nice little ring, what do you want to call that? Kind of like a ring binder thing. Much better than this, although this is smaller. But this one you could at least flip open the pages and set it down. Okay, so the three-dimensional display, which is, well, this up here. The window that usually occupies the top half of the display screen is the 3D display. This is the view out your windshield. Your side windows, or from the control tower, depending upon which view you select. So, yeah, there's the control tower, or like, you know, we're looking out the side of the windows. The title bar on the top of the window tells the view mode. Okay, we have that off, so we turned off that title. Through this window you can see the runway, terrain, and horizon. You can also see the airplane you are flying if you have tower or spot views selected. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, if we go to S, now you can see it's got the title right there. So yeah, that's our spot view, and that's a first on Flight Simulator as a spot view. So that started right here. The visual effects of the Flight Simulator 2 program are realistic. Solid shaded surfaces give the feeling of depth and substance. Cloudy days bring dark skies unless you break out of the clouds and reach blue sky. As you fly through the clouds, visibility is obscured. At night, lights on the ground are your only visual reference. At the bottom center of the 3D screen is the center orientation marker. That would be this right here. Something that I find kind of unique to the Amiga version. I think it's there on the Atari version also. Pilots judge the attitude of their aircraft by the relationship of the airframe to outside visual references. The 3D display is a variable size window, so you can resize this. Notice the size box in the lower right corner. That's over here somewhere. So you must rely on the center orientation marker for wingtip markers. So that's what this is for. As the aircraft to scenery visual reference. You can move the 3D window around on the screen by dragging the title bar at the top of the 3D window and move it around. Title bars in Flight Simulator 2 are not as tall as they are on most other programs, but they serve a similar function. By double-clicking on a title bar, you can expand the window to its full size. You can use the size box to change the window size. You can move windows by dragging the title bar position at the top of the window, even when window titles are turned off. Keep an eye on our needle there. There are limitations on how big you can grow the 3D screen. Well, yeah, you can't make it any bigger than that. You can't overwrite the instrument panel. Okay, so there you go. You can't do it completely full screen. The program automatically limits expansion, so you don't have to worry about what the limits are. The smaller you make the 3D image, the faster it will update. You can also turn off the center orientation marker. I wish we could have done that for the Commodore 64. It may have not been too bad then trying to land at Chicago O'Hare with scenery disc number 9. The plane is more controllable when the screen is updating quickly. Yeah, that's why I wound up loving this version of Flight Simulator over the Commodore 64, despite the fact that this did not have as much scenery. But the plane, okay, we just said that. So, on landing approach and other critical maneuvers, shrink the screen down to no more than half the full screen size. For sightseeing and still flight, solely updating full screen images give better detail. I wonder if they're saying that, shrink the screen down because of a better frame rate. I wonder if they're saying that because of how it was on the Commodore 64, how it wasn't smooth. I mean, it's not bad. You know, it's only bad if you're trying to land at Chicago O'Hare with scenery disc number 9, just because it's like, 10 seconds later, The instrument panel and radio stack. The instrument panel and radio stack window occupies this rear. The lower half of the screen. The panel can be moved downward by dragging it by the top of the window. Oh, so we can take this and drag it down. I guess that means we can actually make the spots screen bigger. That might actually be useful. This makes room for a larger 3D view and map display. Double-clicking on the top window puts the panel back into its normal position. Instruments on the panel and radios in the stack are arranged as they would be in nearly any aircraft. And this layout is like almost dead on, or I should say the Microsoft Flight Simulator 3 and 4 are like so close to how this is designed. I mean, those are based off of this. The style of these instruments varies from plane to plane. The most modern form of each is used in Flight Simulator 2. Appropriate instruments, high-speed airspeed indicator, and ADF readout are switched in when Learjet or ADF modes are selected. So we got 25 miles to go. I was glad when I finally found this, because this control card, I mean, I don't care about the back. It's got the stupid mouse thing. You don't want to fly with a mouse. But the keyboard thing was so important, because I couldn't remember some of the keyboard controls. I believe this is moving right there. See? Can't see anything of Chicago. Our airport should be right around here. Now remember, we have this set up too. So when we see this moving closer to the center, that's going to give us an idea of about how far away we are from the airport. And there she is. So now's a good time to turn off the autopilot. Z turns it on and off. We just now turned it off. So, what, we're about 19 miles away. And there is Benton Harbor. Okay. Not going to worry too much about the anymore. Now we're going to start lining ourselves up here. We can get this bird to go down. Looks like it's still going up. Oh, for crying out loud, come on now. Look at this. Well, you know what? Let's put our landing gear down. And one thing of flaps. That will help. Take a look at our map here. It's hard to tell with the runway. But yeah, so if we zoom out, you can see, well, what is that, a landmass going across the lake? Okay, well, that doesn't look right, does it? You know what it is? It's because that landmass right there on top, that's where scenery disc number 9 ends. That's why it looks like that. And we can see the runway here. There's a little bit of a diagonal because we see a dot there and a dot there. Let's drop another thing of flaps. Slow down even more. Got 3,000 feet. Crossing that threshold. Let's use. Try to update the. Okay, so this is fine. Barometric pressure is fine. Look at this, it's centered. So we know where we're at. We know we're not far. Altitude at Benton Harbor is 643. Some useful information when going to land. Close to being centered. So I can kind of see it. Add some power and slow our descent down. There we go. Here we go, coming in for a landing. here. And we will park in one of our favorite parking spots, which is at the corner of two runways. There we go. Awesome. So we left Chicago O'Hare. We went over Midway. We did a touch and go on Chicago Meigs. That gave us a chance to see those areas with scenery just number 9 before leaving the Chicago area pretty much for good. I mean, we will return at the very end of the tour, but from this point on, yeah, we're not going to be seeing Chicago for a long time. So we have left the nest. We are exploring into the undiscovered country. Well, discovered, but you know what I mean. Anyway, and flew over Lake Michigan, so kind of a neat flight overall, I think. But if you enjoyed it, go ahead and leave a thumbs up and a like. I'd appreciate that. Helps out the video and the channel, and helps out other viewers like yourself try to, you know, find videos like this. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Let's build the channel up together, because community is a good thing. And I love talking with you guys. I love the comments, even if they are a little negative, like you don't know how to land, you should flare the airplane. It's okay. It's not an easy simulator to play, and I try to do my best on it. It's very hard to judge distance with it, so I do the best that I can. But I still appreciate your comments, whether they're positive or negative, and suggestions are always good. And lastly, that notification bell, it's for you. Just go ahead and ring that, and you'll be notified of when the next video is uploaded to the channel. So, thanks again very much for watching, and I will see you on the next leg of our journey.